In this video, I'm going to look at an O3 Pure Eco Laundry System. This is an ozone generator that generates ozone into the cold water supply. And that is a disinfectant to supposedly give you cleaner clothes, I guess. I don't know how these things work, but anyway, that's what they claim. And anyway, this one's not working. We're going to take a look at it and see if we can get this one fixed up. So this device is a laundry ozone generator that generates ozone and adds it into the water to disinfect the incoming water. And as you can see, you connect your cold water inlet and then out to your washing machine. It belongs to a buddy of mine and he says it's not working and he wants me to check it out. I know nothing about these things other than that they generate high voltage. And high voltage is always fun. So let's crack this sucker open. So we have a control module, an oxidizing module, and then the reactor where the water goes through. So I'm just going to open up this control module. Looks like this thing's been damp inside. Maybe that's why it's not working. There appears to be a leak detector right down here that maybe it's detected that there's been moisture in here and it shut it down. Because the unit does generate high voltage, even though it runs on 12 volts from an adapter, there is a high voltage generator in here that generates high voltage. So let's just apply power to this thing and see if it does anything. So our power input is here. We have 12 volts. Why is the polarity reversed? It should be 12, plus 12 and minus 12 on the left. Okay, so this should be the positive here. This should be positive according to the board, and we have 12 volts, so we have power, just the red wire is negative of all the dumb things. Do we have power going out of the module? We have nothing coming out of this module, so this module is shutting it down. I'm curious as to why. There's probably a flow sensor in here that detects when water is flowing. I'm imagining it's this one over here, this black lead is the flow sensor. So let's just see if I short these together. Does anything happen? Aha! So if I short this lead, what I don't know is it producing any ozone. Of course that would happen in here. But of course if it is, we'll smell it. Because this thing will stink like ozone if it does produce any ozone. I don't smell any ozone, so I don't think this thing's producing any. But the control module is switching on, so we have to open this thing up and see if there's any high voltage being produced. Oh, I can smell it now. I can smell ozone now. This is the reaction chamber in here. And basically you have air goes in and ozone comes out. Oh yes, this thing is producing ozone. I can smell it. Having a second look at this thing, I don't believe this unit itself actually has a pump. It's drawing through a venturi. So as the water rushes through here, it creates a vacuum, which is what pulls the ozone in and mixes it up here with the water. So maybe it's the flow sensor that's not working, that's not turning this thing on, because it does produce ozone. When I power it up, it produces ozone and I can smell it, and when I force air through it, I can smell it. So I know that the unit itself is producing ozone, but it wasn't turning on in the application. Okay, what this unit here, this is actually ultraviolet. It has a little ultraviolet LED in there. So this gives the air going in UV exposure first before it adds ozone. If we turn it on, you'll see that there's a little UV LED inside here. So that exposes the air to ultraviolet light first before ozone gets added in the ozone generator cell over here, the oxidizing module, which generates your ozone. So what the flow sensor is, if you look down here, all the flow sensor is, it's just a ball. Then when the water flows through here, it presses this ball up. If I shine my flashlight in here, for example, you guys will be able to see it probably a little easier. But there's a plastic ball in there. So if I use a screwdriver or something to depress that, this should turn on. I guess that one's not quite long enough. Find something that's big enough here to trigger that. So I don't even need to connect it to water. If I press this down, it's working. So I don't know what to say. I'm thinking maybe what happened on this thing is maybe it had a water leak. This is a water leak detector. Maybe some moisture got in here and triggered it into a shutdown state, and maybe there's a leak, and water leaked into here and shut the thing down, because it certainly appears to be working now when I trigger it. The thing I did notice on here is it's got some LEDs behind her, probably blue. They're supposed to light up when this thing comes on, and they're fed from this water LED. Let's just see if there's any voltage on here. Well, there's voltage on here. The LEDs aren't lighting. We'll take the LEDs out and see why they're not lighting. Maybe that's what made them think it wasn't working, because the blue lights didn't come on. I'm sure they're probably blue lights that are stuck in behind here. They're supposed to light this up so you can see the bubbles. Okay, this should lift out now. sort of. And here's the stinking LEDs. I call them the water LEDs. Okay, I think I see the problem with this. There's some corrosion on the board here. If we look here, we've got 11 volts. Follow the trace over to this side, we've got nothing. I have a feeling that's why the lights aren't working. So let's just put a piece of wire in place of that. That's the guy that owns us now. Whoops. My soldering tip is just about shot. It's falling off this iron. He's like, well, it's not lighting up. And I realized what he's thinking is he's not seeing the LEDs light up behind it and thinking it's not working when it actually is. But because the blue LEDs that light up behind this aren't shining, he's thinking it's not working. Because, you know, that's how people are. And of course, since you can't really tell, it's still going to have bubbles going through there, but he's thinking it's not producing ozone when it was. So we'll fix the little lights on here and make it light up, and then he will be happy. There, now it's producing ozone. And I disconnect it, and it goes out. All that work just to fix a stupid pilot light. Let's put this piece of crap back together. You see, and if it faults, it goes into a fault mode. It'll probably light up red. Water indicator. So that's the moisture indicator. Now it's working. Okay, we'll put the thing back together. Let's gotta remember which brackets go where because they're different sizes. You can tell from all these screws having some corrosion on the top that I don't know whether there's been a leak in here or it's just been maybe from condensation from being in his laundry room, right? But certainly there's been moisture that has gotten into this thing. Okay, now that this thing is back together, we have a couple different sensors. We have a moisture sensor here. If it detects there's moisture, it's going to set off a buzzer. To warn you that there's moisture. When it's operating, when the water enters and it presses the switch, the water flow switch, you get blue lights that light up to let you know that the ozone is on, to make you think that that's actually where the ozone's coming from, when it's actually coming from the ozone generator here. Water passing through the water inlet here goes through this venturi, which will create a vacuum, which will draw ozone generated by the ozone generator in through here. This is an ultraviolet generator. It's just using ultraviolet LED that will precondition the incoming air. What good that does, but I guess they call it the PCO cell, and it just looks like an ultraviolet LED that's in there that comes on when the system comes on. Anyway, it's going back, belongs to a buddy of mine, and he brought it down to have a look at it, saying it wasn't working, and he was right, it wasn't working, but it looks like we got the problem licked, and it's going to be working fine now. So he's going to put the rest of the screws in and then send it back so that he can put it back in service and have the peace of mind that he's purifying his water before washing his clothes. Now, does it do anything, or is it just snake oil? You be the judge. Some people believe in this stuff, okay? Others will just write it off as being snake oil. It does generate ozone. It adds ozone to the water. Is it beneficial or not? The jury is out on that one, because you're going to have people that agree that it's beneficial and other people that are going to disagree and say it's not beneficial. It's the same as UV light treatment on air conditioning systems. Is it beneficial or not? Well, my HVAC system has a UVC light in the condenser that is supposed to prevent any mold and bacteria and stuff from building up in the condenser when it's not operating. It was part of the system when it was put in. It's still there today. Does it do anything or not? I don't know, but I leave it running anyway, right? Anyway, thanks for watching.